Today, we continue our DragonBane solo adventure. Let's break it down.
The road did not leave me alone for very long. I am Willie the Wizard, cast out, blamed for the burned library. I am carrying out a task that no one else will touch. The pages of the Codex of Scale and Ash. They are loose in this world, and wherever they surface, trouble follows. I was on the road, and I found a hidden camp, discovered a key, and a prison meant for dangerous people, or at least dangerous ideas. That is where I met my new friend, Paramon, an elven poet bard who was jailed for blasphemy against the church. I helped him free, and we fled through the night. Now, together, we are in Polgara, a city. But I believe this town to be cursed, for I learned that the people here always hunger, and the livestock, they are found bled dry after the night. Magic is at work, and it is not subtle. Worse still, Paramon's wife has gone missing, and we found a masked intruder inside of their house. So we have two strangers, one cursed city, me, Willie the Wizard, and of course Charles. What's that? Oh, shut the fuck up, Charles. Let's continue our story.
Well, hi, hello, everybody. My name is Turk. Welcome back to the Grouch Couch. Around here, we do all different kinds of weird TTRPG things, but yes, today, my friends, we are continuing our DragonBane adventure right here. This is episode 2 with Willie the Wizard and his antics. Right up at the top, I want to say thank you for all the great feedback you guys gave me on the last episode. Truthfully, I was nervous. You see, Willie the Wizard is a character I've had for about 8 years, and some people love Willie, some people hate Willie. And it seems like a lot of you guys really did love his antics. So, I appreciate that so much. And yes, he is a foul-mouthed old man. This is correct. Secondly, a lot of you guys left a lot of really cool ideas and comments on the last episode. Now, I'm going to see if I can get them to make sense in today's story. There were a couple that I really enjoyed. There's actually one that's in my notes that we'll talk about later, but I do want to say if you have ideas for the story, for NPCs, for things you want to see me try and include in today's story, please make sure to leave them down in the comments below. Even if you're watching this way in the future and episode 4 has already released, you could still comment below because I check and read all of my comments, and I like to think of my solo adventure series is to kind of be a little bit of collaborative storytelling as best that I can. Allow you guys to get involved too, because I just think it's really fun. Lastly, I do plan to do about 5 to 8 episodes of this here series to start, of course. And then if I'm enjoying it an extreme amount, I'll probably do more. Or if these videos here get enough likes, I will continue to do way more. That's right. So make sure to leave a like on this video to let me know to do more episodes. So thank you so much for doing so. And lastly, use our links down in the description. By you using our links to pick up the things you see me use here in today's episode, it helps support the show. It allows me to continue getting more things to use and feature on the channel. So thank you so much for doing that. Now, there were a couple comments talking about Paramon's wife's name, which really cool. I think there was a total of 4, which we will get into in a minute. But first, there's one comment I want to shine some light on, and it's from Greek Solo RPG, a fellow solo RPGist. One of the things they mentioned in their comment is that what if Paramon unknowingly is giving away a terrible secret through one of the traditional songs that he is singing, and that's why the church imprisoned him to keep the secret safe. I feel like this was kind of a self-explanatory thing. We were going through the cards, but I think this comment actually opened it up in my mind a little bit and made me actually think about it. What is the lyrics to the song he was singing? What is the secret? Is the church connected to the potential bloodsucking of the livestock? We don't know. I like to think that it has something to do with the page, which we'll figure out today. But what are these lyrics? That's the important thing. What is he saying? And can we use these lyrics? Can we get them out of him to figure out something, which we will figure out. Here we go. Also, someone in the comments, Alexandria Wildfire called me Mr. Grouch, and I absolutely hate that. Do not call me Mr. Grouch. I am Turk. Thank you so much. There's a thing in the punk rock world. There's a band called No Use for a Name, and everyone's like, why is your name called the Grouch Couch? It's a long story, but honestly, the content speaks for itself. Screw a name. Who cares? All right, moving on. Before we get into my notes, we are adding one thing to our solo game here today, and that is Table Fables 2. I want to give a big shout out to Son of a Chef for sending this to me. I have an Amazon wish list down in the description. They heard me talking about it in a previous video, and we're like, we need to get this for Turk. They got one for themselves and one for me, and we've been talking about it in Discord. It's awesome. So, shout out to Son of a Chef for sending me Table Fables 2. The thing about Table Fables 2 is it's more about world building a little bit from what I can see. Stuff like that. So, shout out to them. Thank you so much. Other than that, we're pretty much using the same stuff that we were using using last time, although I did pull out 2d10 actual matchy-matchy ones we're going to use for our D100 today, because for some reason, the comments confirmed it. Thank you so much. Free League didn't send 2d10 with their dice set. What? Yeah, 20 steps forward, 2 steps back, Free League. So we are still using our DragonBane dice. Also, I also want to give a big shout out to our friends at Sword and Stone Hobbies. They're actually going to be making an official, actual mini for Willie the Wizard that they are sending to me in the mail. If you want to get custom painted minis of your characters, if you're not like a painter, but you've always wanted to have a mini of your character, go over to Sword and Stone Hobbies, hit them up, check it out. All right, they'll paint your mini for you. They'll send it over to you. They got really cool pre-painted stuff. They've got non-pre-painted stuff. Sword and Stone Hobbies is where you're going to get your minis, and you can use code COUCH for 10% off your order. Down in the description. Yes. All right, before we get into notes as well, we have made our Paramon character sheet. Just a useful thing for us to have. Their stats, 9, 10, 14, 10, 10, 18. They have their loot, and they have a knife, just like I thought. Here are their skills. Pretty basic stuff. The only weapons they're trained in are knives, but they are trained in acrobatics, just like I thought. Most bards are. And as an elf, they get extra stuff while resting, something called inner peace. Now, I type up and print out my notes.
Because I'm a savage, okay?
It's also because my handwriting is awful. There are certain solo RPGs where I specifically use my journal, but most of those I don't do on camera because of how bad my handwriting is, and I don't want to subject y'all to that, okay? Paramon's missing wife, all right? Paramon's wife, Moralyn, is what we went with. This is actually a suggestion from Arsenal Mob. I hope I'm saying that right. If you hang out long enough, you'll learn that I'm bad with usernames. If you want to do pronunciation of your username in the comments, just do that anyway. Just do pronunciations. If you don't know what to comment, just do a pronunciation of your username in the comments. Thank you so much. That is what the name that we went with. There was a couple cool ones. I think it was like Petunia. There was another one, Miranda. All very good, but Moralyn was really fantasy, and they also suggested the nickname of Mora. And I thought, Mora and Paramon, we don't even know if she's an elf. We're going to roll to see what she is once we find her, but cute little couple names. Love that so much. So that's what we went with. But we do have the first page location in Bulgara. We know that the people are suffering from something unnatural and insatiable hunger. That's an important thing that we're working with. I also did write down Galina, the female dwarf, just so I can remember her name. And I wrote down the name of Bulgara because that helped me remember it. Also, the Windy Shepherd, Paramon's house, livestock areas, and the specialist prison that is nearby. That's what we know. Those are our notes. I also have my literal campaign notes that I wrote up before episode 1 that I never showed you guys. So that's what this looks like here. Charles and Nessie, the background, the Codex of Ashen Scale, the campaign premise. Very cool. Alrighty dighty. I think that just about covers everything. Which is crazy. There was a lot of introduction in the last episode, which means we get to do more story in today's episode because we don't have to introduce everything we're playing with. So once again, thank you so much for joining me. I think it is time for us to continue our story that has yet to ever have been storied. Let's begin. First things first, let's paint a scene for us, all right? And there's one thing I like to do. I think that Paramon and Willie are waking up in the morning, and they're obviously going to have a discussion before they head out. And I have some ideas as to what to do when they do head out into the town to figure out what the heck is going on. But before that happens, I'm going to take a note out of the Mythic GME book to see if this first scene in our game proceeds as normally, all right? I'm just going to roll on our fortune chart to see if it proceeds as normally. And I might do this a couple different times, and if I want to sway it one way or the other, like as if there was a chaos factor, I might do a couple dice. But for now, we're just going to do one dice roll to see if it proceeds as normally, and we roll. Our first dice roll of episode 2. That is a 5. So yes, the scene proceeds as normally. Very good. So nothing crazy happens. I think these two both wake up in the morning and gather up all their supplies. And I think they're giving each other small talk, kind of going over everything that's been going on. I think Willie's asking him a little bit more, about his wife and what's going on with her. And while they're having this conversation about his wife too, I want to roll an awareness roll here because I want to see if... I bet that Paramon's kind of just reiterating the same crap that Willie's already learned. But I want to know if Willie picks up on anything that might give him some hints about his wife and people and anything else that might have something to do with him. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to roll our first roll, skill roll in this scene here. We're going to make an awareness roll just to see if Willie kind of picks up on anything. And we got to get under a 10 here because his awareness is 10. That is exactly a 10. So maybe it's nothing extreme, right? Maybe it's just something small. Maybe Paramon says something about... Okay, I guess I'm gonna have to ask yes or no questions here, because my first thought is she was healing someone in town recently, maybe, and maybe they couldn't afford it or something like that. That's my first, just like general thought, right? That's like the obvious one. But the second obvious one could be something to do with the church. So let's ask some yes or no questions. Does he mention a general person in town? That is a 5. So yes, it's not the church. It's a general person in town that he mentions. Was she healing them? That is a 2. No, so she wasn't healing them. Were they her friends? Extreme yes. Okay, so not only were they her friends, they were her family. She has family in town. He mentions family that she has in town. All right, we're getting somewhere. Maybe they might know something, all right, is what Willie thinks. So we can go and talk to her family later. We can get some more information. He's like,
okay, Paramount, I tell you what, we can go and see if maybe her fucking family knows something about something, okay? That's what we're gonna do. But first, you know, there's shit going down, and we need to know if a page from the Codex of Ashen Scale is affecting this town, or if something other more devious is going on. So we must do some investigations. Okay, Paramount?
yeah, sure. Absolutely, Willie. Okay, so here's what's going to happen next. We're actually going to leave Paramon's house, all right? We're not going to hang out in here all day. We're actually going to leave his house, and what Willie's going to do, now I gave him this spell on purpose, just for this exact situation. Willie is actually going to go out into the city. We're going to begin walking around, and Willie is going to cast Sense Magic. Now, here's the description of Sense Magic. You can sense whether the place you are in or an item you are holding is affected by magic, and if so, what kind of magic. The idea here is for Willie to use this as a guide. He wants to sense around to see if there's any kind of powerful magic happening anywhere that might guide him somewhere to get us moving forward a little bit. I like to think that right now it's during the day, obviously. So we have until tonight, whenever we know the livestock are being attacked, when we know things are happening at nighttime. We have until tonight. So during the day, it's smart for us to do all of our investigating. It's weird how this has turned into kind of a mystery. Maybe it's because I've been thinking a lot about Vaesen. I think a video on Vaesen just went up yesterday. Maybe because of that, but this has turned into a mystery, and it's kind of, it's weird. I didn't think mysteries were possible solo, but anyways, we're moving on. We need a guide, but what we have to do is we actually have to cast Sense Magic, and in DragonBane, Sense Magic is what they call a magic trick, right? It doesn't cost a roll to cast it. You just spend a willpower point. So we're going to cast it, and then we're going to ask some yes or no questions to figure out what we might sense here, okay? First of all, there is magic going down. We know that for a fact. So we're going to ask yes or no, and we're going to call it likely. So we're going to give it basically a boon. We're going to roll 2, and we're going to take the higher roll. Does Willie sense some evil magic happening here? That's a 6. So extreme yes. And on an extreme yes, obviously, it's not just going to be magic from the church. This is for sure magic from the Codex of Scale and Ash. But we still have it. I mean, we don't know if the church maybe got this page, right? But what we're going to do is we're going to pull some cards, and we're going to see where this location in this city is that Willie sees, where he's guided to. I think he whips out Charles and he swings him around. He spins Willie on the stick, or he spins Charles around, and green magic emanates out of his eyes, like... And Willie just closes his eyes and he goes,
Paramount, I have sensed magic. Follow me.
And he holds out Charles, and to the other viewers, people in the streets just see this crazed old man just charging through the city, holding up this skull on this staff with Paramount just looking around, stumbling behind him. But Willie, I think, has this vision of this green trail coming out of Charles's eyes that is leading him to some kind of location in the city. There's something in the city happening. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw some cards to see what location it is that Charles is leading us to. And also, someone mentioned, when I'm thinking, I do fidget with things on my table, and I have OCD. So in between cuts, you guys might see things just shift and rearrange on the table. I've got big time OCD, and things always need to be where they are. It just kind of is what it is. It happens when I'm mindlessly thinking. My hands just do things. Our 2 cards. Oh no. I mean, you can't write this shit. It's a dusty temple. Oh, really? It couldn't be something crazy and really, like, you know. Shit, dude. I mean, we could also go to a fancy junkyard if we want to, but that just doesn't make sense here. All right, dusty temple. There are a lot of other good words on those cards, but right now we don't need them. So we approach a dusty temple. I mean, obviously from our campaign notes, we know that everything in this town is made of jade. Jade is a really big, important thing here in this town. It's known for jade vessels, decorations, and statues. There's also a bunch of gargoyles. So I think, first of all, are there gargoyles? Because there was also a comment about the gargoyles being important. I would like to roll to see, are there gargoyles outside? And I'm gonna call it very likely. That's a 4, which means yes. Okay, how many? How many gargoyles are out here? That is also a 4. Several. There are several gargoyles out front. And I'm imagining that since Willie has sensed magic on, I know that the magical trail is going to lead inside of the Dusty Temple. But while it's on, does he sense any magic coming from the gargoyles themselves that are out front? 1. Extreme no. Okay. So the gargoyles are not currently, at least, magical. So that means that there's no real obstacle stopping us from getting inside. And I'm wondering why that is. If this place there's magic coming from it, the church isn't protecting it. There's nothing stopping us from just going through the doors. So then Willie goes, okay, Paramount. Then my next question is, do we descend in the church now? I don't think so. Do we go into the church now? I was looking at this word on this card right here. That's why I said descend. Action, descend. That right away to me says that in the church, there's some kind of dungeon underneath here that is housing something evilly magicful that this town the church is protecting, right? Which could indeed be the page. They could have found the page, they could have went down there, they could have used it, right? Absolutely. And in the world lore, this church may have something to do with either dragons or demons. So I think when Willie sees this crazy magic, he's like, do we go down now or do we go and see Morland's family first? I think the simplest thing to do is to ask Paramount. I think Willie turns to him before they even step inside the first 2 doors. And Willie's like,
Paramount, I don't know what we're going to find in there, but I do know that it's not good. So, do you want to go and figure out more about your wife and go see her family before we do this? Or after we save the town? Do you want to go ask them questions, which will maybe lead us on a quest to a different town, where then we could go and try to find her there? Because that's probably what's going to happen if we do it after. If we do it now, she's probably in the dungeon. Those are our 2 story building options, Paramount. What do you think?
It's so crazy how talking it out makes me realize what's going on here. I've been playing these games for too long, y'all. So do we want to have we don't actually even need to talk to her family. She could still be down there whenever we go down there, if we roll on it right. If she's not down there, then we could go and see her family, figure out where to go next, and that will lead us on another trail to keep our story moving forward. So I think that that's what we do. So that means right here in the middle of daylight, first of all, Paramount responds and goes, old man, look, I'm so heartbroken. And I can't. You see, I was looking around while we were charging through the town, making sure not to see any of these cultists, but because I'm wanted, remember? I would much rather not be out here in broad daylight. He's like, oh yeah, I guess I fucking forgot about that. Which also means he didn't see any, we didn't think about it. Did he actually see any people of the church while we were going through the city? Because he was keeping an eye out for them. I'm gonna call it unlikely. That's 2 6s. Extreme yes. So he did see people of the church in the city while we were going through it. Wow. I was trying to make this simple. It's not now. Okay, we're going to have to draw some cards again just to see what were they doing? What does he see them doing? So on these cards as well, we actually have on the back here, if we flip them over, we could see right here there is news. And these are really good to like maybe what NPCs were doing, what was going on over there. Again, I'm not using these cards. The Downcrawl deck is specifically designed for a game of Downcrawl, which I will be covering in a separate video. But these oracles are just too good not to use in other places, right? So you'll see on here, there are some things like volume, so stuff about volume theme. Don't worry about that, okay? Right now we're looking at the news. So I think that in the future, whenever it comes to asking a question like that, I'm only going to draw 1 card. Because now that I have 4 options, not only do I have like maybe decision bias, but I have like decision paralysis, right? I don't know which one to go with. But one of the cool things about these as well is you can actually see these little arrows on these cards. You can actually combine them. So we can say it's whimsical, right? Or time stopped. What? Time stopped in an upcoming once in a lifetime event. What? Do we think that Willie was so caught up in following the magic, the evil magic to the temple, that he didn't see what was going on around him? We got an extreme yes on this, remember, right? So what if the reason, because when I was saying it out loud, I was saying that Paramount was just looking around like, remember I said that. Maybe he was looking around because everything in town was like frozen. And maybe all the people of the church were staring at them because they were not. Why would they not be? Maybe some kind of protection magic, maybe because Willie is bonded with a demon technically, because Charles is a demon. What the crap? So when Paramount says, I would much rather not be out here in the open, he looks around and we see these religious cultists in the city moving around, and maybe they're looking at us. I imagine them in like red robes with like some kind of symbol around their neck of a certain god or a demon, obviously. At this point, I'm thinking, I'm going to make an intelligence check for Paramount. He has a 10. As the comment suggested, does he put it together that maybe one of his lyrics has something to do with what is happening right now? That is a 9. So he does. He puts it together. I don't think they have enough time right now for him to explain it, but I think Paramount's like, Willie, I am heartbroken and I don't want to be out here because they're all staring at us. So we need to move forward. Whatever you have planned, we need to do it. And I think I know why, but we don't have time. So let's go. So right now what I'm thinking is the cultists were doing something with the insatiable hunger already. And then they found the page and were trying to figure out how to handle it. And today they figured it out. So they were basically doing something with the people, and now they've stopped time. And we know that the magic is in the church, the dusty old church, which is empty because all the cultists are in the town, and that's why no one is blocking the church currently, which also makes sense. So I like that a lot. They're out there, they just cast the magic, they're probably going around and finalizing whatever blood-sucking crap they're doing on all the people, or stealing from everybody, or whatever the demon has asked them to do. Wow. We also have capture, so that's probably what it is. They've frozen time and now they're capturing all the people, tying them up, probably taking them somewhere. They're capturing all the people. Maybe their plan was to take them back into the church, but we've interrupted that. Yeah, I think that's good. So at this point then, Willie looks around, sees what's going on, and goes, oh, fucking shit! And he swings around Charles, and then they rush through the large temple doors in front of them. Gargoyles, unmagical, so they just rush through them doors, and then as they get inside, I'm imagining a classic temple. But here's another thing. Does this scene move forward as intended? Is it just a classic looking temple with pews and everything else like that? Is it normal looking in here? That is a 6. Extreme yes. So it looks like, so there's definitely some kind of a guise that these cultists have been under. Extreme yes. So everything looks completely normal. And Willie's looking around and I think at this point the magic is just emanating so heavily that he can't really follow the trail that Charles is giving, just to give ourselves a little bit more of a challenge. And we're going to do a spot hidden roll. Okay, in spot hidden, we only have a 10 and Paramount has a 5. I want to give Willie a boon because he is using detect magic. Or a bane, sorry. No, it is boon, yeah. Make it better. He's using detect magic. So we're going to go on ahead and roll for him. We got to beat a 10 just to see if he can see maybe where, at least he can see where before the cultists run in, right? Where something. That's a 6 and a 3, so no matter what, yes. He sees a way forward, right? The magic leads him to something. And we had descend on the cards, which means we're going down deep into the deep dark down. We're going down underneath this here area. What do we think it is? And I only ask this question because it is important, because we're going to lock the door behind us, right? Because all these cultists are now chasing us. Is it maybe a cellar door in the floor that he finds? Does he whip back a rug and see a cellar door that goes down? I'm gonna call that likely. That's 2 6s. That's an extreme yes. So it is a cellar door. He does pull back the rug. I think as he whips it back, there's some kind of a magical symbol on the door. It's like a metal door even. It's not even a wooden door because we want it to be sturdy, right? So there's a big old magical symbol on this door that represents some kind of a demon. And it's like way in contrast to everything else in this church. Like this church is under the guise of being good, but as he sees that on the extreme yes, I think Willie goes,
oh fuck, I've read about this demon. This is not good, Paramount. This is not good.
And I think with the extreme yes, it's probably unlocked because they are currently doing things with it, right? So it's not like locked and left there, right? So I think Willie whips open the door, and then what do we see in front of us? That's the next question. Obviously some kind of stairs, doors, etc. Here's the cool thing. We're going to move into Table Fables 2 now. And we actually have door roll charts in here. Bruh. Okay. Wow. These roll charts are fantastic. If you want Table Fables 2, by the way, link in description. Once again, big shout out to Son of a Chef. Son of a Chief. Again, I'm bad with usernames. So here's the cool part here. We actually have Dungeon Interior, right? And we actually get to roll on these bad boys, which are going to give us unique rooms and things that we can write on. So we're actually going to be creating our own map, which is why I have my dry erase maps here, all right? I know I said we're going to use the map library, but we're actually going to be using these things. And I think I got these out of a dungeon crate a long time ago, back whenever we were working with him on the show. These are dry erase, just single squares. They work pretty well. So we're about to get into the dungeon delve part. Here on episode 2, I think that's fine. And we're totally assuming that they have the page somewhere down here in the dungeon. We're just assuming that. All right, we have a D4 here for what kind of stairs are these? That's a 4. They are stone stairs to go down. Right, so I'm gonna go on ahead and assume that they are pretty old stairs. Let's see if we can get exactly what that is. That's a 3. They are 3D 100 years old. So we don't need exact, but these are old stairs. That's only a 10. That makes it 102. That makes it 146 years. Obviously, we don't know that, but our characters don't anyway. And we start descending down these stairs. And behind us, we shut and latch this metal hatch. And then we have a second. We turn around. We can hear all the ramblings up top. And we turn around and look. And I think in here, it's quiet. And we could hear all the ramblings above. And Willie just turns to Paramon and he's like,
well, we're in the thick of it now. If you've got something to tell me, like you said outside, before we descend, now is the time.
And they walk down the stairs together slowly. And first I want to roll to see if it's lit up in here, because if not, Willie's going to cast light, which I think we do have. There's also a town generator in here. This is a fantastic book. My goodness. I wish I would have had this last week. This is so good. Although I should say, obviously DragonBane has a bunch of really good dungeon generator things itself. All right, so we might be using a mix of this and that as we play today. All right, but I might get a lot of use out of this book here today just because it seems fun. We'll see how. Okay, I don't see anything about light. So what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna say, are these stairs, is there light going down these stairs? That's a 2, so no. So Willie is going to cast light. As he casts light, I think Charles's eyes light up, this like green, and it goes against the walls, and it lights up everything down here, guiding their way down these stairs. What is the scale of these stairs right here? We're gonna roll on that. Whoops, I had 2 dice in there, so I didn't see what that was. I think it was a 3. We're gonna go with 3. So they are moderate sized stairs. So they aren't crazy huge, but it's gonna take them a minute or 2. And then I think before Paramon says anything, obviously Charles has to say something at this point as his eyes light up. I think Charles is like, oh, we're going down. And be careful. I sense the magic of demons. These people worship an asshole. This guy wasn't as cool as me. I think Willie's like, oh, shut the fuck up, Charles. And then, as he always says, and then now we need to figure out what Paramon knows. What are the lyrics in his song that deal with these cultists? Why did they lock him up in the first place? Because by learning the lyrics, it might help us flesh out this dungeon a little bit more, right? Like what we're going up against. So we know the hunger, the vampires, and the bled out livestock. And now we know that they are stopping time to try and gather all these people together with the use of the page. I'm just going to assume that this was a demon page that they found, a hunger demon, a vampire demon, a demon of, is it gluttony? When people eat too much? Yeah. Gluttony is the excessive and wasteful consumption of food, drink, or anything else, driven by a lack of self-control where desire for pleasure overcomes reason, often seen as one of the 7 deadly sins. Are the demons in our world the 7 deadly sins? That'd be kind of cool. So we know that we're dealing with gluttony today. That's kind of a cool little world building bit. So did Paramon's lyrics have something to do with gluttony? I'm gonna call it likely. Here we go. That's a 6 and a 3. Extreme yes. All right. It's really this song that I used to sing. It was about a woman who would eat and drink way too much over her fill. It was a comedy song about a woman who would eat so much she would explode. And the people would laugh at this song. But I think the hunger and everything else going on, maybe that's the song that they locked me up for. And we was like, okay, so in this song about the glut, is there anything else that you can remember about this song that may help us? Why? Why is my question. Does the demon just get off on people eating too much? Does it give him power? What is with the livestock still? Is my question. What is with the livestock? Maybe the livestock has nothing to do with the people, but only to do with the cult. Maybe was the cult using the blood for something? That is a 6. Extreme, yes. Okay, so the blood is just for the cult, not for the glutton. Maybe they're using the blood. Maybe now they're feeding it to the people. Now that time is frozen, they're feeding the blood to the people to make them even more hungry, because that's what the demon wants. And maybe this is just a church of gluttony. So I mean, that's what they're all about. So this demon just wants people to explode. I mean, maybe it's as simple as that. But here's the thing. Is there anything else in this song that could help us? That is a 4. So yes, not extreme, but yes, something that could help us. The weakness of the demon, maybe? I feel like that would be an extreme yes. Maybe a cure to the gluttony? This is a big decision here, so I'm really trying to think on it. While I'm thinking, can I just say, holy crap, has this story evolved today? My imagination really surprises me sometimes, but it was all powered by these tools that we're using. Really, truthfully, I do really hope that me doing this inspires you to do your own solo game and have some fun, truthfully. That's always my goal, is to teach and inspire others to play in this world that we're playing in, truthfully. So I hope that it does. And if it does, make sure to join our Discord and share your solo stories with everyone else in our awesome solo community, all right? There's a link down in the description, and if that link doesn't work, there's a link on the website, okay? thegrouchcouch.com. Gotcha. But holy crap, this is not... Every time I go into a game, I'm always like, I think I know what is going to happen, you know? We're going to go and just kill a couple cultists and grab a page, but then everything just like evolves like crazy, and it's just mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. All right. So here's what I'm thinking. Sometimes it's best to keep it simple, stupid. I spent way too long thinking about this, truthfully. But here's what I'm thinking. Something in Paramount's song, I think it may be the end of the song, it says that the feast only ends when the table is empty. You know, something like that. Some kind of lyrics like that. And so I think that whenever he realizes this, he's like saying these lyrics to Willie as we're walking down the stairs together, and Willie's trying to digest all of it. And then he goes, well, what if the secret to defeating this demon, this cause, isn't to rampage in blood? Because in its own right, enjoying casting spells and enjoying, do you know what I mean, hurting something in its own right could be gluttony. Maybe Willie's like, what if the way to defeat this demon is just through simple restraint? We must restrain ourselves, stop ourselves from doing things. As much as, I mean, if we get down there and if it is actually the demon itself is down here in this church, which maybe they're trying to summon the demon by feeding the people blood, by making them eat more and explode. That's what they're trying to do. So maybe the demon isn't even summoned yet, but if they manage to, that's how we defeat it. But first, we must start our dungeon delve, plain and simple. So we've got our little map here. We're going to use Table Fables to make the rooms, and then we're going to use the roll charts from DragonBane as much as needed to figure out the contents of said rooms if we need to. One other thing I did promise we're going to do last episode, this episode, we are going to start a threat timer. In this game, there are threat timers, and as you do actions and move through things, threats will then activate. And what we're going to say our threat is that the cultists, the dozens of them, are trying to break through the doors in the top. And every action that goes by, we're going to get closer to them breaking through the doors, getting into the dungeon, and then chasing us down, right? So I'm trying to think if I want to set it at a 6 or if I want to set it at a 10. I think being that this is our first timer, I'm going to give myself a little bit of easiness. So I'm going to set it at a 10. So our timer here is at a 1. This is how we do this with our deck. Now we're going to go through each room, and every time we take actions, that moves the timer forward. And also what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that I can take an action and that Paramount can take an action, and that moves the timer forward. And there's not like, there are some actions that take time, like spot hidden and stuff like that. There are other actions that don't take time. But if you're doing a spot hidden, it's going to take time to look for things. So anything that I deem that will take time, that's what basically we're going to do. So the first thing I want to do is I want to figure out the theme of this here dungeon. So we're going to roll on the theme. Now, if we get castle or stronghold, we're going to roll again, but it could just be more temple. It could be a natural cave. It could be, obviously couldn't be a tower, but it could be a prison of some kind, another underground prison where they plan to keep all these people hostage, right? So we're going to go on ahead and roll on that. And this is a D8, and it says here at the bottom, you could roll twice and combine them both if you get the 8. So we're going to take our beautiful DragonBane D8. That is a 7, which is tower. We're not doing that. We're going to go ahead and roll again. Although, yeah, no, that doesn't make sense because we're underground here. That is a 4, which makes it a stronghold. This is an enemy stronghold, an ally stronghold, or a monster stronghold. So after you do that, you roll again, as you can see. Just said those out loud. So now we're going to roll a D6 just to see what kind. 4, ally stronghold, which really doesn't make sense to me unless it, like, as we're going through here, we see, oh, we see that there's evidence that this was actually once a normal church before. This was actually a normal, they were worshiping things, which makes sense as to why everything up top, the extreme yes that we got, always remember previous rolls, everybody. The extreme yes that we got shows that everything up there is normal. So down here, it's normal as well, because this was once an actual place where people did churchy thing. So it's not like built out of the cavern freshly. These guys just made this here. And that's why it's been 146 years. These stairs have been here, because this was once before an actual place where the church people did their churchy things, right? Storage, probably barracks, stuff like that for the people of the church. A place where they sleep and eat and whatever else. But now it has been occupied. It is an occupied ally stronghold in loose quotations. Okay, we're trying to find the page, but what we're going to do is we're going to roll to see the size of this ally stronghold. If I get huge or massive, I'm going to re-roll, but we'll take small through large. So let's see. Oh, this is a D8, yeah. That is a 3, so it's medium. So it is 1d10 plus 5 rooms. That is a 1, so it's 6 rooms down here. So we're actually doing pretty good. Maybe I should have rolled for the rooms before I set the timer, but whatever. I'm going to put it up here. Hey, y'all get to see my really bad handwriting. 6 rooms. It looks like it says brooms. Maybe it does say brooms. I don't know. All right, the condition of the place. 5, dismal condition. So they have beat this shit up. Oh, and we do have lighting in here. Very cool. All right, and that is a D8. 3, there is poor natural light. I'm not going to call it natural light, but I am going to say that there's poor lighting in here because we're underground, right? So maybe it's just a couple of torches here and there. It's not very visible. So our light with Charles is helping. Okay, then we have atmosphere and we have reputation. We already kind of know the atmosphere a little bit, but I don't know. Let's roll on it anyway. 2, damp and mossy. I don't think damp and mossy is the way to go, but maybe it is like there are roots growing in through the walls now. I think maybe at one point it was like fully stone because we rolled stone on the stairs, but now like the stone is cracked and there are like roots and moss and other kinds of stuff like coming in through the stone. And it probably is a little damp in here, which makes sense why there isn't a lot of torches. Cool, so we have atmosphere here. Now we also in this book do have notabilities and particularities for each room. It could have something crazy going on. Oh no, this is for the total bit of this here quote unquote dungeon. You know what? Let's roll on this to see if there's any particular things going on. And this is a D100. Can't see it. That is a 7 and a 5. 75. Infestation. The dungeon suffers from an infestation of biting gnats, scratching locusts, or diseased rats. So as we walk through, I think right away a rat goes under Willie's feet and he's like,
fucking what the shit? Careful, Paramount. There are rats down here.
All right, so we know what's going on here. As we reach the bottom of the stairs, we roll here. We have room, hallway, or a unique room, right? So let's roll a D10 to see. That is a 4, which makes it a normal room that we walk into. D12 for its dimensions. 3 is 20 feet. And then it has length by length. It has the hall dimensions. This is crazy. But it's 20 feet. Each one of these squares here is going to be 5. We'll say that we came down here. That's where the stairs were. And this is going to be a 20-foot room. So we're going to do it like this. 5 by 5. You could also pick which wall the doors are. This is crazy. This is such a cool book. Okay, so let's, I guess, roll to see how many doors leave this place before we decide what's on the inside. That is a 1. We're going to roll again. That is a 1. We're going to roll again. That is a 1. We're going to roll again. Are there no doors? I mean, we got 3 1s in a row, but we know that there's 6 rooms. Maybe there is no doors and we have to find. Maybe there's a secret entrance somewheres. Okay, so let's move forward. And then we have area contents, so it'll tell us if there's an enemy, an item, or an event. That is so cool. I love this book already, especially for this what we're doing. Okay, we're going to roll 1d20 to see what the general purpose of the original general purpose of this room was. I need to set this someplace else. That is our counter. That was a 13 before I nudged it, so this is a confessional room. So they used to bring people down here and do confessions. Okay, now let's roll area contents. That is a 4. It is empty, okay? Empty confessional room. So as we step into this area, there's like dimly lit torches and we're looking around and there's like rats and stuff everywhere. Obviously there's a couple, I think there's definitely like those little boxes that like one person gets in one side and the priest gets in the other and then they talk to each other, right? And I'm guessing there's probably a few of them actually. Let's roll a D6 here. Are there a few of them? Yes. We'll call it 5. How about that? Actually, we can go here and we can actually roll. We got, yes, there is a few of them. And it says several right there as a 5. So there's like 7 of them, and they probably line the walls. And then maybe on the center area, maybe there's like a place where then after they confess, they can like do something, right? This isn't like Christianity, right? So it's not going to be like holy water or something, but maybe there's some kind of statue that maybe it's a gargoyle. It's a gargoyle. Their god has something to do with gargoyles. It's all coming together. There's a gargoyle in the center, right? So now we need to do a spot hidden roll. And spot hidden is going to advance our timer. Yes, it is. But I think both of us are going to do it. Since we're in a rush, we're going to call this normal. There's no boon, there's no bane. We're just in here looking around. Willie's trying to figure out where do we go from here. And he's opening up the confessional doors and he's looking at this gargoyle, trying to figure out maybe something to do with that. Whoops, spot hidden roll. That is a 16. So he's got no idea. He's looking around. And now we're going to roll for Paramon. If I remember right, I think Paramon has a 6 in spot hidden. That is a 4. Yes, Paramon, you're useful. All right, so as they look around, first of all, our timer is going to move forward by 1. Where does he see this secret entrance? Maybe we do draw a card. Let's see. Voices. We have voices as an idea. So I really want the gargoyle to be something, but I think Paramon hears voices coming through the wall and he's like, we can't move forward, Willie. I hear things. Someone's in there. And Willie goes, okay. So if there is a secret entrance, my intuition says it has something to do with this gargoyle here. And he's staring at it. And I think Paramon walks over to it and Paramon's like, was there something to do with it in his song maybe that dealt with a statue of some kind? Extreme, yes. Cool. So Paramon's like, oh, Willie, in the song, it talks about the turning of the idol. And Willie goes, oh, no shit, and grabs it and twists it. And I think as it does, in classic fashion, the wall just moves. Or no, maybe the wall just clicks. It's just like a click, like click. And Willie goes, oh, shit, man, there's a fake wall. And he walks over, he knocks on it, and it's wood instead of stone. And he goes, well, they built this motherfucker. Someone's a really good painter. They made it look just like stone. That's crazy, Paramount. And he's like, Jesus, Willie, were you raised on a ship with a bunch of sailors? You curse like crazy. And he's like, yes, actually, I was on a boat. Yes, I was, yes. True story. So they're going to pull back this door. And if we hear voices, we're going to want to do it stealthily, right? So to our character sheet, we're going to roll stealth checks to open this door, to look in. All right, Willie's trained in this, and he has a 10. So we're going to open this door. And it could be a squeaky door. We don't know. Let's just roll a d20. That is a 14. So he's a little loud. Maybe he was talking loud when the door opens anyway. And he opens it and it's like, and Willie's like, like it hurts. It's squeaking so much. He's like, fucking should have built this door better. Jesus, magical WD-40 in this motherfucker. Right. So secret door. Before we see what's on the inside, what is the door location? So we can see which way we're moving forward. And it can't be west. That's a 2. It is the east wall. I want to call it right here. And since it's a secret door, we'll do a little dash like. Very good. So we know there are people in here. So we don't really have to roll for that. But what we can do is do all the same rolls again, what we kind of previously did. What is the general purpose of this next room? That is a natural 20. Very cool. It is a choir room where they practice choir. Okay. All right. We already know it's a room. Is it a regular room? We could do unique room to get one of these down here. So let's roll for it anyway. That is a 3. So we'll re-roll until we get room or unique room. 2. Okay. So regular room. What are its dimensions? Let's put that back. Okay. 6 is 30 feet. So we're going to call it like that. Doors. There we go. 6. There's 1 door. So we can see how to escape. There's a 1 on the north wall. There's 1 door here. Okay. Now we already know it's an enemy encounter. And in this book, we have 11 through 15 for enemy encounters. I want to see what that looks like. Number of enemies. Sick. We love that. That is a good thing to have. My goodness. 11. 1d4 enemies. 4. Oh no. That is tough. What is their mood? Well, at least we know it's 4 people. Yes or no? Are all of them cultists? 4. Yes. Great. Okay. What is their mood? 4. Angry. Oh no. What is their condition? Good. Okay, great. We've got 4 good cultists. Good, angry cultists. in a 30-foot room. How are they all gonna fit in there? How are we gonna fit in there? This would be a great time for a fireball, is all I'm saying. Okay, now it's time. So these are going to be our 4 guys. All right, we're going to assume, because I don't have my minis out right here, this here 1 is going to be Willie, and this here 2 is going to be Paramount. This is where we're at. We're going to draw our initiative cards. I'm going to do 1 for, well, we'll do sets. Okay. For Willie, the 1, very good. For Paramount, 6. For the first set of guys is on 9, and the last set of guys is on 7. So we get to straight up go first here. That's pretty sick. All right, now I want a general character sheet for these guys. And remember, every time we take an action, our thing's gonna move forward. All right, so here's where we're at. Willie gets to go first. Now, if we remember, he can use a willpower point to actually, because he's a master spellcaster, so he can cast 2 spells in a round if there are different spells, he can use that. But before we even do that, there are 4 guys here. Willie has a spell called Lightning Flash, and in my fiction, this lightning is gonna come directly out of Charles, so it's gonna shoot out of his face at these people, right? The cool thing about Lightning Flash also is that it can ricochet and affect another enemy. It's really kind of cool stuff. But I guess before any of that is said and done, we need to try and roll to hit here. But if the spell is cast successfully, the target takes 2d6 damage, but we're actually going to cast it at power level 2, which means it's going to cost us 4 willpower. So we're going to have the ability to possibly be able to kill these guys. We're going to assume that these are normal grunts, right? So each one of them is going to have 10 HP, okay? So we're going to spend our 4 willpower. Very good. Now we are going to roll to try to hit this first guy and hopefully ricochet some lightning and hit the second guy. That is our goal here. But here's the important thing. We have to beat a 12, which isn't the hardest thing in the world. We have to get under the 12, right? Here we go. That is an 8, which is really good, which means that we hit. Fantastic. So now we're going to deal 3d6 damage. I'm going to have to use Willie's token here. That's fine. Come on, big money, no whammies. That is a 5, makes it 8, makes it 11. So he sends out this lightning like, bah! I don't think, would the enemy dodge is another question. The second one might, after he sees the first one go off. We'll ask yes or no. So he sends out this lightning. Green just emanates from Charles's eyes, and it just lashes out and hits this guy and almost just melts him to the ground. Fantastic. Now it's going to ricochet to the next guy. But here's the question. Does he try to dodge? Is he going to spend his action to dodge? That is a 3. 3 is no. So he's not going to try and dodge. Interesting. So once again, 3d6 damage. That is once again an 11 damage. Just melts the next guy. Very cool, because in the last episode, Willie failed both of his magic rolls, which was very sad. But in this one he succeeds, and it only ricochets 1 time, so it goes, takes them both out. Now he's going to spend his willpower to use ensnaring roots on this other guy, which is going to cause him to just lose a turn. It's kind of wonderful. So basically, in a nutshell anyway. So we just got to beat a 12 here. That is a 9, which means we succeed. So this guy here is now ensnared with roots, and that uses all of Willie's stuff here. Now, in the book, I do believe, if I remember right, you can move through other NPCs, other characters, as long as they're willing, right? So this guy, at least that's the way I'm going to play. Moving through enemies is a different situation. And he can move 12 feet. We'll call it 15 because math. So 1, 2, 3, he's going to move right here, and he has his knife, and I'm wondering if he's going to hold his action, because you can hold your action to then on your next turn be able to parry and stuff like that, which is kind of cool. This guy here is going to go on the 9, and this guy here is going to go on the 7. I don't know. Since this guy is ensnared, we're going to give him a boon on his roll, and he's going to attack with his knife. Now, since he's actually trained in knives, he has a 10. And we rolled for it. He got the boon, which gives him a 9, which means he absolutely does hit. All right, so his damage with the knife, I checked in Foundry, is actually a D8 damage, plus he gets a D4 as his bonus. So he also has the potential to kill this guy if he rolls high enough. I don't think he will. Let's see. 7. So this guy takes 7 damage, and he's ensnared. Cool. His initiative card's gone. Now, we're on to this guy here. So what we're going to do, so we're actually going to pull up our roll charts here. And we have NPC attack. We have magic, melee, ranged, or sneaky. We'll just call this guy a melee attacker. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to open this up, and we can see it's a 1d6 roll chart to see what he does. That is a 6. Intimidating Wriggle. The NPC roars or rampages. Roll against willpower to resist fear. Rampaging. So Paramount, I guess, is going to roll against willpower. He has a 10 in willpower. That is a 12, which means that he fails. All right, I'm gonna double check fear rules real quick. All right, so simply enough, from what I take from it, our boy Paramon now gets a boon on all rolls dealing with willpower. Simply enough, that's what fear does. So this guy has done its turn. Now this guy is actually entangled, which requires an evade roll. And I can just go on ahead and assume that this guy has an evade of 10, right? I think that's what we're gonna do. And this takes his action. That's a 5, so he breaks out of the roots, but now he's good to go. All right, that is our first initiative done. Next round. Okay, drawing again, we have Willie is on 8, Paramon is on 1. It's not looking good there, Willer. And Snare Guy's on 9, and the other guy's on 10. Okay, fantastic, which means we get to move first. Paramon's obviously just gonna try to stab with his knife again. The guy's no longer ensnared, so he has to beat a 10 without a boon or a bane. Here we go, stab him, take him out. Oh no. Oh boy, Paramon got a 20, which is bad. All right, so we actually have a roll chart for mishaps in melee that we're actually going to roll for. Sorry, Paramon, we gotta do it. And it says in here, if it makes sense, fine. If not, the GM decides the effect, is what it says. You slam your weapon into something hard and damage it. Any use of the weapon gets a bane until it is repaired. So now his knife's now broken, which I think can actually put broken on his character, on Foundry. So we know that the knife is broken. So now anytime he tries to attack with it again, he gets a bane with. Very good. Oh, and I forgot to move our timer forward after that last round. All right, sorry, bud. Okay, Willie can now step into the room. He could step right here. We can try to finish them off. We have well enough willpower still left, so we could try to do Lightning Flash again. We could try. We don't even need to do it, I don't think, at spell slot level 2. We could just do it at level 1, which means it's only going to take 2 willpower. So I think it's okay. That leaves us with 6. All right, Lightning Flash. Bah! Is flanking a thing in this game? I don't know. I didn't read if it was. I don't ever usually play with flanking rules, so I don't care. But this could benefit us in this situation. But then we have to remember that, because then in the future, if an enemy flanks us, we'll have to give them a boon. Yeah, okay, let's do it. Here we go. That is a 9 and a 4, which means we absolutely hit. 2d6 of damage. Yes. That is a 6 and a 2, which is an 8. This guy gets taken out, and then it's going to ricochet. When he sees that happen, does the second guy try and dodge? 3, that is a no, he doesn't dodge. Okay, interesting, very interesting to me. All right, damage. That didn't go in the box, here we go. That is 1 and a 5, makes it a 6, taking the leftover damage. This one guy's left. It is his turn. What does he do? Okay, 1 through 6, what does he do? That is a 6 again. There's no way he's gonna roar and rampage around 2 turns in a row. I'm gonna re-roll it. That's a 1. Deal a blow. The NPC makes a melee attack. Okay, we're gonna say against Paramon, I guess. Little cultist with little culty knives, you know what I mean? He's gonna roll to hit. He's gotta beat attributes. It says all attributes are 10, so he's gotta beat a 10. That's a 19. He big time fails. He's like, trying to stab. He's too messed up. He can't manage it. Shuffle initiative cards. Draw. Willie, 10, going last. Paramon has a 4, and the enemy has a 3, so he's going to try to stab again. It's his turn, first round. Wait, let's see, what does he do? First we roll for that. 6. There's no way he's going to do an intimidating wriggle again. I guess he is. I mean, I rolled it twice. That's all that makes sense, I guess. I hate that, but it's what makes sense. Okay, so since he's around both of them, we'll let both of them do it. Paramon is already feared, so he can't be feared again. How about that? So Willie needs to beat willpower, which I think his willpower is really high, actually. It's like a 14. It is... No, his willpower is an 18. Whoops. Let's throw it in the box. That is a 15. So he runs around and Willie's like, you can't fucking scare me, guy. Prepare to die. And then with a Bane, Paramon's going to try to stab our friend again. Taking the lower one's a 13, which means he misses. And I really wanted to save 6 willpower for Willie. I really did. So our main man doesn't have much HP left. Our staff does a D8 of damage, but we have to get under an 8 to even hit with it. But he is flanked, so let's do that. He's just gonna try to hit him over the head with Charles. God damn it, Charles. That is a 5 and a 2, so we absolutely hit. We can roll our D8. We don't get any damage bonuses with strength because we're weak as crap, we're old. That's a full 8 damage. Hits him over the head, knocks him out. Go to fucking sleep. Puts him down, that's right. Fucking put you down, you bastard. One of Willie's sayings. Fucking put you down. real quick, let's see if we can scavenge anything from this before we move on. Oh, there's also a search table. That's kind of cool. Secret path, hidden treasure. Very cool. So let's roll on scavenge. We're gonna roll a d10. Let's roll a d10 twice. There's 4 enemies in here. That makes sense to me. We got an 8 and so we got nothing in a treasure card. Very good. Did I put away the treasure cards? I think I did. So I'm just gonna pull up the treasure 1d40 roll chart. We're just gonna draw results. So you could just do that here as well. I've been trying to roll physically though the whole time. I've been doing my best to do that because it's fun. Oh, we find 16 gold coins. That's awesome. Willie finds those and he's like, I'm getting me a tanning bed. No, he says, this is gonna help get us a carriage. Tanning bed. What you want about, old man? Okay, but here's also the thing. While we're searching around, we found the gold coins. I'm just gonna call it normal. Is there any sign of the page in this room? There's a 1, so no, there's no sign of the page in this room. That's fine. And that was another round of initiative, which actually brings us to 4 on our time. And I could do it action by action, but it's kind of the way that I'm doing it. And I don't mind. Okay, now we're going to roll for our next room, which is off of this door here. So we're actually going to move this like this, because we're going upwards now. Here we go. All right, 7 is hallway. How long is this hallway? It is a 4, 10 feet. Oh, cool. So it just gets us to the next. Very nice. We love that. All right, next room. Not another hallway. That is a 10. Okay, perfect. Unique room. So this means, if we count stairs, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is room 5-ish. Maybe there's also a treasure room or something of the sort. But this could be the unique room that we're looking for here. Could very well possibly be. The room with the page. Here we go. That is a 2. That's a weird looking room. It's like this. That is a weird looking room. As you can see here, number 2. It's an arrow. We're going upwards. Okay, before we see what this room was supposed to be previously, I'm going to call it really likely. And I'm going to say, is there a sign of the page of some kind in this room? There's a 4 and a 6. So extreme, yes. Very good. What would the sign be? First, let's see what this room was meant for previously, because that'll help us flesh out what it looks like in here. 10, a common room. Okay, it's a common room. That doesn't help us at all. Let's roll to see area contents. That is a 16, which is item encounter. It's kind of exactly what we're looking for here. Item encounter is page 46. Oh, loot type. So it could be, this could be like where they're storing all their crap. So that means maybe there's another secret door in here somewheres, because we're supposed to have 6 rooms, but we know that the page is in, and we know that this is where they're storing all of their loot because it's something like that. So let's roll us a D100 to see what else is in this room. Dice are 99. That's crazy. 99 is peculiar knickknacks on page 55. Okay. I like this book a lot. It's pretty sweet, honestly. We have tools and animal products. Animal products? Maybe it's all the blood from the livestock. Is it all the blood from the livestock? Extreme, yes. That's a 6. So all the blood is like everywhere. They're like jars and shit. And then I'm imagining there's like a pedestal, right? And like the very center, that just has the page just sitting on it. And as soon as Willie sees it up this hallway, he looks and he goes, oh shit, there it is. Paramount. Oh. He holds out his hand and it stops Paramount from running in. And he's like, even though Paramount wasn't going to run in, he still holds out his hand and stops him. And Paramount's like, what the fuck? And he touches his chest and he's like, be careful. There could be traps. Why would it just be sitting there like that? That's what I'm thinking. So there's like jars of animal blood everywhere. The demon of gluttony. We've come to a climax here. There's 100% a secret room somewheres. I think we have time, right? We're still on 4. Why do I keep moving? I keep moving that. I need to use next time I'm going to use a different color dice for my timers. Willie's going to do spot hidden to try and look and see not only for traps, but maybe he can see from here like another secret entrance or secret door or something, because there has to be somewhere that they're holding all of these people, or at least plan to, right? Unless they were just going to bring them into the church and do it in there like a big old blood ritual inside the church up top. So they were gathering all the people, and then they were going to come down here and get the page and get the blood and do all this blood magic, Shane. It's friggin' blood magic. Shout out to everyone who knows Willie the Wizard. That was a storyline way later in his life. There's fucking blood magic happening. Sheesh. Okay, spot hidden. That is a 13. So he doesn't see any kind of traps. He doesn't see anything like that going on. We call it unlikely though. Is there actually a trap here? Maybe that's a 1. So extreme no. So they haven't trapped their room. That's fine. But we did spot hidden, so we got to move this forward to 5. Now we've got this fleshed out. I imagine it just like the walls are even like this maroon nasty color from all the blood they've just collected in here. That page is just sitting on the pedestal. Before I think I know what I'm going to do, but before I can do that, I have a couple questions I have to ask. First of all, when Charles sees the page, does Charles say anything? Because Charles is a demon that obviously wants demons to come back and take back over the world, right? But currently his magic's being used for good, and that makes Charles mad, and Charles is kind of an asshole. So I'm wondering if he says, does Charles say anything about the page when we see it? 3, that's a no. So he stays quiet. I wonder why. It's interesting. My second question is this. Willie has a grimoire that can hold spells, and he is a spellcaster, so he knows to keep things like, you know what I mean, good and stuff. But I think narratively, it would be so much cooler if he had like an old leather-bound book or something that he keeps with him that he is gonna put all the pages in. Because I think at this point, he hasn't decided whether he wants to destroy them or he wants to save it for history. Because also, he might want to keep these pages to have proof to the town he came from. Like, look, I didn't burn down the city. It was this, you know, the Codex of Scale and Ash. Like, this is what did it. So he kind of wants to try and store them, but he knows he has to disrupt evil. But I think for now, he's just going to store it. So we actually have a spell. It's called Flick. It's one of the trick spells, and that's why I wanted to save willpower in case this happened. He's actually going to use Flick, and he's going to flick the page off of the pedestal, and he's going to have this grimoire book open, which if you guys have a name for it or a description of this thing, please leave it in the comments below. The page is going to go right into the book, and he's going to slam it shut. I don't even think he's going to read it. I think maybe visually, for our sake, we can see like a glimpse of the demon of gluttony, and I imagine it being this huge, just fat thing with like pus bubbles all over its face, and it's like disgusting. And he's just gonna flick it, and the pages is gonna go right into the book. I'm wondering if, I don't think the pages themselves have sentience, right? It's just like history, like someone wrote them. It would be fun narratively if the page fought back, you know what I mean? It would also be, I mean, how interesting would it be for us to right now fight the demon of gluttony? Like the blood spills over and you know, this demon is just like summoned. That'd be really cool, but we're level 1. And going up against a demon at level 1? Oh, in turn we would die. Both Willie and Paramon would die. And so I don't want to put them in a situation where 100% they would fail. There was a good fight in here, and I'm satisfied with that as the player. So I'm just going to say he flicks it, and it goes into the book, and he shuts it. And he turns to Paramon, and he's like, well, good. Now, we must, because now we have to stop the cultists, right? We have the page, but now we have to stop the cultists. We have to stop the reversing of time. I forgot about that. Maybe when the page goes into the book, we have Dispel Magic as well. Dispel Magic costs 2 willpower. Maybe we can use it on the page itself to stop the reversing of time. I think I like that narratively. So we use Flick, we flick it into the book, he shuts the book, and he holds out Charles, and he casts Dispel Magic, which is going to leave us with 2 willpower points left. He casts Dispel Magic, and then do they feel it? Is there a rumbling? Does anything happen? That is a 2, really? No, so that nothing happens, they don't feel anything, but I think Willie turns to Paramon and he goes, it is done. And Paramon goes, what's done? And he's like, well, time's back to normal, and we have the page. Now I'm kind of getting the heebie-jeebies sitting around here amongst all this animal blood, so let's go and confront these cultist assholes. How? There's a bunch of them. They're all really bad. They have to have a leader, I'm assuming. They're all still trying to get in here. Maybe when time stops, we don't notice it down here whenever time resumes. Maybe the people up top realize what was going on and they start fighting the cultists and yelling and stuff. So maybe we don't feel it, but maybe once we start getting back towards the entrance, we can hear people fighting and stuff up there. And Willie's like, oh, it seems the people of Holgara have finally woken the fuck up, is what I want to happen. Let's roll to see. I'm going to call that extremely likely. How about that? So we're going to roll 3d6, and that is 2 5s and a 4. So yes, the people wake up, realize what's going on, and they start casting out all of these cultist people. They're mad at them. I think like some of them wake up like with the people like feeding them blood. Like they wake up in the middle of it and they're like, what in the crap? And they like push them off and start fighting them, and they all whip out their blades, and we can just hear like crazy fighting happening up in the town of Polgara. And Willie's like, chaos. Seems that things are going to go back to normal. And he could hear it up there. Now, when we open this door, we go to the exit, and we're going to open this door. There's still 2 hidden rooms in here, by the way, because it's supposed to be 6 rooms. I could count the stairs and the hallway as a room, but that leaves us with 1 hidden room somewhere that we just didn't see. And that kind of just is what it is because we failed on our roll, right? I feel like it's somewhere in the treasure room. Maybe it'll come up narratively later. We don't know. So as we open the door, is anyone right immediately at the door as we open it? That is a 3, so that's a no. So we swing the doors open and we walk out, and I think we just see this, like, in the chapel, people just like fighting and hurting each other and all other kinds of stuff. Like, they are mad at these cultists. Okay, I have a lot more questions currently. I got a phone call. I was interrupted, but I think that Willie and Paramount are going to help a little bit, fight off the last of these guys, right? I think that the whole town rebelling against them is going to slowly take them out. I think that a couple of them are probably going to escape, out into the night. It'd probably be like these cultists out there somewhere, which I do need names for these cultists, what they call themselves, something fun, something to do with, the cult of the demon of gluttony. That could be a lot of fun. So I have a way to reference them later. Got to figure out something to do with that. So you guys in the comments, please leave them down there. I think a couple of them are going to get away in the night, and then I think Paramount and Willie are going to go and celebrate together. I think because the Windy Shepherd will not serve Willie, I think that Paramount will order the beers and then, give them to Willie, and they're going to celebrate together secretly, quote unquote, in the Windy Shepherd. And then they're going to take a long rest and just kind of discuss everything that's going on. Maybe we'll do a little bit of this discussing at the beginning of the next episode. But I think right now, the runtime that we're at, probably long enough for this here episode 2. I have no idea. I don't know what the time ends up as once I'm done, until I'm done editing. Usually the way that it goes is I record for about 3 hours. So whatever that has ended up for you, congratulations. So that's where we're going to end it, is them celebrating the fact that they just got the page. And I have a lot more questions, but this means next episode we can figure out things to do with his wife, to see what city we need to go to next, or even where to go to next. She may not be in a city. She might be somewhere else. It could have been the cultists that have taken her. I don't see why they would. I mean, medical and gluttony don't really make sense to go together unless they've got her like kidnapped somewhere in a basement out here and she was the one doing the extracting of blood. That would be the only way I could see that making sense. So maybe we'll roll on that next time. You guys let me know what you think in the comments. But for now, this table is a mess. This was a lot of fun. Please, my friends, use links down in the description to get these things if you want to get them for yourself. Leave a like on this episode, because the more likes these episodes get, the more episodes I will do in this series. So you can show me that you want me to do more. Easy peasy. Leave comments below about ideas. And for now, take a seat on the couch for a little while, or until you can take down the cult of gluttony yourself. Roll on that, weirdos. I'll see you next time. A toodaloo.